Welcome back to Unmute Yourself. I'm your host, Jennifer Carter, and this podcast is about lifting the curtain on leadership, purpose, and the real stories behind women who dared to do things differently. We'll talk about how they found their path, the struggles along the way, and how they built something that truly matters. These are normal people doing extraordinary things because I want you to know you are extraordinary too. My guest today is Kendra Germenis, an experienced designer. I know this is going to be fun. Y'all just wait for this fun and chaos energy that we're about to bring. She's an experienced designer, a former tech program manager, educator, and like a working artist. And her career has never been linear. Y'all, she started in accounting. Is that right, Kendra?
I worked for public accounting, not in accounting. I did training and development for accountants. So I managed all of their continuing education programming. So.
But still, it sounds so right. And
yeah,
okay,
it was a different environment.
Yeah. And so after that, moving into employee experience, special projects, program management, and then earned her master's in human dimensions of organizations at University of Texas. And woo! Yep. And then right after graduating, what happened? Laid off.
Yes.
So sad. But what that did, it wasn't a straight line, right? It was a year of job offers falling through and plans that just don't seem to happen and wrestling with what she thought she should be doing. And then, y'all, she picked up a paintbrush. And what started as painting a piece for her own mantle turned into commissions, events, and a creative practice that is now redefining how she thinks about work, experience, and identity. So our conversation today is about letting go of your shadow genius and stepping into what you actually want and what happens when the process becomes the point. Kendra, I'm so glad you're here.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here and excited for this conversation.
Now, we were introduced through a mutual friend of ours, Travis Davis, and he just knows the most interesting people. From the moment I met you, I was just wowed because it seems like everything that you're working on happened. Oh my gosh, it happened by a happy accident, like Bob Ross would say.
Oh, very Bob Ross. Got my trees in the background.
Trees, happy little trees. So you've said your background isn't linear. And when you look back on everything that's brought you to this point, does it feel chaotic or is it cohesive once you can see it in its entirety?
It's cohesive in my mind because I know the steps that took me from this point to this point to this point. But when I talk to other people about it, they do not feel that way. Like it's a lot to other people because I've moved around a lot, but I get very bored and I like new challenges and projects. So to me, every step made sense. Looking back, I have covered a lot of ground in hopefully a short amount of time.
Yeah, it seems like that, right? So you spent years in corporate and you've always been a creative person, right?
Yes, my whole life.
Okay, so how were you able to blend and fit your creativity in during the time when you were more traditional corporate environment?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I don't think I realized how I did that or how it impacted my career until I got into a role that I wasn't able to use it. So I've always painted and been a creative. In college, I did advertising because I felt like it was a good blend of creativity and business. And that was my whole thing. When I got out of school, I wanted to do events, and then I got this training position and I was kind of coordinating events. And my first company I worked there for 11 and a half years doing different roles. And it, like looking back, it ended up being a very entrepreneurial role. There in public accounting, there's typically limited bandwidth on the operations side, which meant if you wanted to work on things and you were good at it, like go out there and do it. So I was in a space where I could pitch ideas and they would be accepted and I could create them and make them happen. And in the moment, it feels like a job, but I moved into big tech after that, where my role in program management was more, I mean, they may say it's entrepreneurial, but it felt more traditional to me, where you're focusing on process improvement, operational efficiency, and these things. And I realized I didn't have the autonomy to take on these building projects and creative projects that I was previously doing. All the times I felt like I wasn't being creative, I think I really was, even if it wasn't in a traditional format. And I got to do graphic design and lots of presentations. I actually like PowerPoint. So I was able to manifest design in other ways.
So then, okay, so creative aspects of it, creative careers, not necessarily a fine arts career, but creative career. And
Mhm.
then you graduated with your master's, right? Ready to pivot into people and culture work. And then job market tanked, right? And you got laid off.
Yes, my organization started shrinking and I think may still be shrinking. So I missed layoff round 1 and I got hit by layoff round 2 a lot of years. And that was a surprise. So I feel when I moved into that role, I started around the time I started my master's program. So I was in survival mode for a solid year and a half. And I feel like when I finally got out, came up for air, was ready to be like, okay, what am I going to do here and how am I going to evolve in my position? I got hit with a layoff. So I was kind of forced to reset everything all at one time coming out of that program and facing the job market at the same time.
What did that moment when you learned that you were being laid off feel like for you?
Kind of disbelief, but not surprise. You know, you can read the signals in the room, and I think I was already feeling uncertainty in my role for an assorted amount of reasons, and we were working through that on our team. So I wasn't surprised by it, maybe slightly relieved that I was trying to make a role work that wasn't working for my, needs. So I was not sad. I will say I was not sad. I think I was relieved I'd been burning like really hard for a very long time and needed to catch my breath. So that
Got
was
it.
my immediate reaction was not panic. So,
Got it.
yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting to hear people's different perspectives when they were laid off. Some people are like, "Oh, because I was so overwhelmed or burned out." And there's fear, panic, rejection, feelings of inadequacy. Other times it's people ready for something new. And something that you said to me when we talked earlier was that you fought the universe for a solid year.
Mhm.
What were you fighting for?
I have always talked about being an artist and owning my own business. Like my whole life, if I connect with some of my dearest colleagues and friends, like they know that about me. And so when this happened, those advocates were really cheerleading for me and excited for me to. I'm so excited to see what you're going to do next. And I believe some people say that just because they don't have anything else to say. But I feel like people in my corner were truly cheering me on. The corporate world brings just a level of stability that you get very used to. You don't have to think of where the work is coming from, where the paycheck is coming from. It comes with benefits. I have a family, so there's all of these things. So the natural thing for me was just to find another job. And I did have a series of like unfortunate events, which we talked about, which was getting to the very end multiple times within a year of that layoff on several job opportunities and them not working out for one reason or another. And I think I started hearing it from other people, which is like, maybe that's a sign. Maybe that's a sign. And I just really, I thought when I first got laid off, maybe this is finally my chance to do what I've been thinking about doing, which is like go out on my own. And I just didn't take that opportunity right away. It took me a while to be like, okay, I need to go and try this, or I may never do it. So.
So tell our listeners what you're doing now and how that started.
Yeah, I naturally I'm doing a couple of things. One is visual art. I am painting. I did my first festival. Well, they weren't festivals, but smaller art events this past fall, and we'll have some bigger ones this spring. I'm working on commissions. So I do have this arm, which is traditional painting and art. And then on the other side is workplace experience consulting. I'm constantly, tweaking that name and what that is. But my company is Best of Workplaces, and I focus on workplace experience design. Workplace experience more recently has taken on a more physical connotation, I've noticed, which is people, how the office is. But mine is more employee experience, which is how are all of the parts and pieces working together? Your tools, your operations, your culture, your engagement, a little bit of all of that. But more specifically, and we talked a little bit about this, is I'm honing in on kind of, and I preach about this all the time, which is like the operational infrastructure. So I am like right brain, left brain, and I like a really organized base and foundation, like operationally for teams, so that people really can do their best work. And I know that's a cliche term as well. But for me personally, if my life is not organized, like I feel chaotic. So I think a lot of the work I do comes from an art perspective, which is like art is not just this willy-nilly thing. It really thrives on structure at the root of it, and that's what I strive to bring to teams. So, yep, go ahead.
So, what does that look like in real life? Give us an example.
I'm gonna go about this is not a formal work thing, but I have been involved in the PTA this year, which is a new thing for me. And up until joining the PTA, like I felt overwhelmed as a parent. So joining the PTA, I've seen the inside working, the inner workings. I've understood why I have felt overwhelmed as a parent. And now 6 months in, like I'm starting to realize like what could be improved, starting with how are we getting our parent volunteers? Like, are we just having a few people show up in a meeting and then everything gets dumping on these few parents to run everything and then it gets everyone like, do we have a calendar like where we can see all of the initiatives happening at the same time? Are we talking with other groups within the school who are hosting initiatives? Like, I don't know about you, but this week, every single program and initiative seems to be happening in our school. And like, how are we communicating and what's the frequency of that? And how are those communications set up so people are not overwhelmed with information? So I give this example because I think it's relatable if you're a parent and have been in this experience. So to me, that is really about taking a snapshot of all the information and just simplifying it. So how are we organized and how are we communicating this information was typically like where I start.
That's awesome. Do you do anything with the physical space?
With the physical space, I haven't done a ton besides just art. Like I've done formal art projects, and even in my first role, we redid our core values, and I worked with vendors to kind of reproduce this concept of an interior design firm for us came up with, and source photographs and put like core values on the wall around the office. And I did run like a huge change management project where we did office naming initiatives and environmental branding concepts. And we did a huge photo collage wall in the office space. So I would say environmental branding is the main component to it,
Mhm.
but do have a lot to say just overall about how things are set up and how we operate and are integrated. So I guess it depends on what side we're talking about.
Very cool. I can really see your right brain, left brain, because I see your creativity, but then also tying it to logic and process.
Love
So
the
walk
process.
love a process. I don't love a process. I'm not good at
Uh,
it. My brain doesn't I know.
I think
How
that's how I stay afloat.
process.
Yeah.
How did you build a process for selling your art? Like, how did that come about?
Well, what a good question. Use the great powers of LinkedIn to really get it
Oh,
started,
yeah.
which is hilarious because I see all of the commentary about LinkedIn being cringe so often, but it actually has like a huge functional value that I've always been engaged with my network. So I ran a social media account for my art for a long time. So I just kind of started communicating there what I was working on and what I was doing. I think LinkedIn is a great place to share what you're working on. And someone liked it and they bought into it. And so I've just kind of kept up that format. And so that has brought in a few commissions. And then um, I started events this past fall, and events have been a game changer. I've only done a few at this point in time, but that's will be my next big focus is really meeting people in the flesh. I don't know that the digital world is the best place to sell art unless you already have a connection with your buyers, which is maybe what happened in the LinkedIn thing. So I'm just
Oh,
using
that's interesting.
tried and true methods.
Were you freaked out, like, to put your art out there and show people what you were making? I hear a lot of artists, like, it's not ready or they're gonna think I'm weird or
No, no, not
you get
really.
freaked out.
I've truly been an artist all of my life, and I've been making and have tried consignment and ran an Etsy shop for many years. That was ended up being more like invitation design, but I'm very proud of what I do, so no shame there.
Love it. So you talk about strengths, right? And things that you're good at and things that you've been trained to do. What do you see as the strengths that you have and that people expect you to do versus what you actually want to do?
This is interesting question, and I think this is where a lot of reflection has come in for me. I've always been a very great planner, good project manager, keeping up with all of the details, like traditional coordination stuff. And I've built that reputation even within my friends and family group. So not wanting to be that person and not wanting to be the planner and the person who remembers everything and keeps up with everything, I think I realized like I'm probably over indexed on those skill sets some. Like I want to be creative and in the moment, and I'm not always great with spontaneity, but I want to just like be in the present and not always plan and not always know what's going on. So this has been a little bit of a push and pull. Like I need structure and process because I guess there's two ends of the spectrum,
Right.
right? But I think in the work world, I just really did well in that area and I kept doing it. And that's what people expect of me and achieve, 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 achieve. And now that I'm resetting, like I'm having to kind of reset those expectations, like this overachiever, perfectionist, all of
Mhm.
the things.
Yeah, that reminds me. You told me earlier that the process has become the thing, like your thing.
Yes. Shout out to Anne if you end up listening to this for bringing this up. But this is something we started talking about in our master's program. And she was like, the process becomes the thing. And I think the example I gave you was about operational efficiency. So, like, I really do like operational efficiency. And when I moved into a role, a program management role, where my job was to create operational efficiency, it was no longer fun anymore. So I previously had so many things to do and so much on my plate. Like I like operational efficiencies. I could get my stuff done faster and handle more volume. So like it was the process to do my job. And then I shifted and it became my job. Like your expected output is to create operational efficiency. And then I didn't enjoy it in the same way because it became the end and not the means to the end.
That makes perfect sense. It
Yeah.
took the joy. It sounds like it took the joy out of it, or like your spontaneous creativity on building a process, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I like building, so it wasn't about the wasn't part of the building anymore.
Yeah. How has your relationship with achievement changed? You said perfectionist, achieve, achieve, achieve. How has that changed now that you're on your own? And
Uh, that has been a struggle for me because, again, like, I set the bar for myself and my family, even, like, parents, like, "Cool, you went and got this master's, so you checked it." In many people's mind, like, I checked a box, like, "Hey, you went and joined big tech, you got your master's degree, like, now what are you doing? You're painting," you know? And, like, there's some dissonance that happens in that, and I can build an amazing business, but it will take well, hopefully, but it will take time. And so in that in between, there is this like expectation, like I feel like I need to be living up to, which is what do I do with these things and these milestones I got to? Like, what am I doing with them? And like, I can sit here and tell you how they feed into my work. Granted, they do directly correlate into the consulting side, but from like an art perspective, I've had to be okay that my achievement is more intrinsically defined than extrinsically defined. And I have had to set goals for myself and focus my achievement on where I want to get and how I want to move the needle versus just the corporate, the ladder, the rung,
right.
next step, next step.
So, what does success look like to you now?
Now, well, really, I need to be in a role like using my creativity. That's success for me. Like if I don't want to say do what I love and passion, and that can go different ways or whatnot. But success for me is feeling excited about my work. Does this feel good, and can I move this forward? And am I helping people and improving the world in a way that like feels good to me? I tried to just do a job to be a job, and that did not feel good. So there's that point. But then there is just like the stability piece of success to me long term is like, is this a sustainable career? Like, can I do these things and feel good? Like, I don't need to be doing more, or I don't, I don't need to be looking for a corporate job or that point. So it's a long runway for sure.
It sounds like there's still like dissonance there in that fight. Like, can I be creative and have stability? So, in this stage of your life, what does unmuting yourself look like?
Man. What a good question. Unmuting myself. I think that is a little bit of self confidence in the sense that it's like dropping the people pleasing. Unmuting myself is like doing it because I want to do this and I know I want to do this and I don't need an excuse as to why I'm doing it or what I'm doing next or what. Unmuting myself is just going for it. I want to be an artist. Like, let's do art and like, let's make it happen. And like, let's quit second guessing like what we're doing and just go for it because that's what I've said I want to do and what I want to do. Yeah, that's a transition I am still in.
Understandable. It's the not needing an explanation to anybody but yourself on what you're doing and how you're living your life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay,
Maybe I'm meeting myself is just like moving to a beach and living there, but
that's not bad.
for
That doesn't
another
sound
day.
bad. Or today, you never know.
Oh, that's true. For today.
Right? We don't know.
You know
Okay,
what? This
what?
I was going to give a random caveat on the side. I
Tell
talked to a
me.
strengths coach years back, and I think we talked about this dissonance. I mean, years back, talking 10 plus years, and she was asking about what my passions were. And she's like, maybe you should be a travel art guide. Like, you lead travel excursions and do art in the place. This was like
Yeah,
so many years ago, so
that sounds
young. So
amazing.
maybe that's what I'm doing when I'm unmuted for sure.
And you'll find it, right? Just one step at a time.
Yes.
Okay, so to get to where you are right now, what did you have to let die in order for this version of you to be front and center?
What did I have to let die? Excuses, maybe? Like,
Dang, that's good.
I think about this from an entrepreneurship perspective. Like, when you are doing things yourself, you have no one else to blame but yourself. And maybe that sounds negative, and I don't mean it like that. I just mean when someone else is telling you what to do in that world, you can complain and you can do this, and oh, I don't have time. But it's like, if I'm not making progress or doing what I need to do, like that's on me. And like that ownership is next level right now.
Good for you. Okay, so we're about to do a very quick lightning round. So just
Okay.
answer the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. What part of yourself are you finally letting the world see?
Oh, the free spirited artist,
Yeah.
the one who doesn't have everything together.
And what story or belief about yourself did you have to unlearn to step fully into who you are?
Everything with like traditional femininity and who I have to be like in my household.
Oh, that's a good. I've never gotten that answer. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, what does it cost you to be authentic and why is it worth it?
Right now, it's some like luxuries in life. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a very true cost thing. But yeah, I, I just have to grind right now. That's the cost.
Do it. Just do it. What boundary have you set that protects your sense of self?
Over volunteering for just everything. I mean, I love to be helpful. I truly do. But I've had to just say no. And that includes like play date requests for my children. So just
It's exhausting.
overcommitting on things
Right.
that aren't work related.
So good. If you could unmute one truth people are too afraid to say, what would it be?
One truth that people are too afraid to say, just what they really want to do, what they wish they could be doing instead of what they're actually doing, that they don't like what they're doing.
Okay, last fast question. What keeps you grounded when you feel pressure to perform or fit in?
What keeps me grounded? Well, formally, it's like a strategic plan that I fall back in, but I think just centering myself, like bringing some like yoga nidra is like a favorite thing of mine, just tuning out the world and like just resetting internally would be very helpful.
Wonderful. Well, Kendra, thank you so much for this conversation. And before we wrap, I do have a couple of final questions. So, if
Okay.
listeners walk away remembering just one thing from this conversation, what do you hope it is?
Just like looking inside of yourself and being honest with like what is it that you have always wanted to do and knowing that like that's on you. Like you are the only person who can make that happen.
It's so cool, isn't it?
It is.
It's so cool. Okay. And on a more personal note, what has it meant for you to share your story here on Unmute Yourself today?
Vulnerability is hard. I advocate for
Yeah,
it, but it's also hard. So I'm already sitting here thinking like, "Ugh, what did did I
I
share
know.
too much?" But I really like to connect and relate over real topics. So it has been very cool to sit here and talk to you. And I'm hoping for anyone listening that you're able to, if you feel this story, like I hope that we can connect. So it's just really special to be a part of a group of people who believe in this kind of next version of ourselves or more authentic version of ourselves.
Yes. And how can people connect with you? How can they find you?
All kinds of ways. I mean, add me on LinkedIn, Kendra Germenis. If you are on Instagram, my art is there. It's at Kitsyco, Kitsyco. And those are probably the two easiest avenues to get to me. And maybe
Well,
bestofworkplaces.com if you want to check out consulting
okay.
type stuff.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. And thank you to everyone listening and for choosing truth over comfort, alignment over approval, and courage over silence. And remember, I work with senior leaders navigating high stakes decisions, delivering keynotes that go beyond motivation, and coaching leaders who are ready to move past being stuck in choices they already know they need to make. And if that resonates, good. Let's connect. You'll find details in the show notes. And if this episode resonated, share it, like, subscribe, follow, and stay with us this season as we explore what it really means to live and lead without muting who we are.
Awesome.